than this, I've never heard them nor done them. Jim Sparks is my guest. Years and years of being abducted, and lots of details. We'll get right back to him. All right, as much detail as we're getting. Obviously, Jim has written a book called The Keepers, An Alien Message for the Human Race. We haven't even gotten to that yet, and we will. It's available, I'm sure, Amazon.com and all the usual places, so you're really going to want to go jump on that one. Go to Amazon, check it out. Here's a book obviously worth reading, The Keepers, An Alien Message for the Human Race. Go dig it up, find it, buy it. All right, Jim. They first taught you, or forced you, I guess would be the right way to put it, to trace out our own letters. And then did they move partially to an alphabet that was not ours but part of theirs, so that eventually your communication was sort of a mixed bag?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And and I don't claim to be an expert on it yet because it's still progressing, so to speak, over the years. It's not the main focal point with interaction now, but it's still there. It's a discipline in this respect. What I believe I'm learning about the ability to communicate via non-verbally, telepathically, is that in our minds, for example, one that's not practicing it I'd want to hear your thoughts in my head, so to speak. And what I've learned is that you take your words or your thoughts and you put them into symbols. And I think the brain waves they're scattered all over in your brain, but it forces them into a symbol. So now you can pick up a strong reading, so to speak. And it's almost like, to simplify it, would be like Morse code. One who is new at learning Morse code would hear dots and dashes, and then we'd learn how to convert dot, dot, dash, dash, whatever into a word. One who is learned at the art doesn't hear that anymore. They hear sentences, words, and paragraphs, right?
That's correct. I'm one of those people.
Oh.
So that's exactly how it goes. And in the beginning, of course, as you pointed out, you're just hearing dots and dashes, and you're having to convert, for example, did-da, which is A. You hear the did-da, then you see the did-da in your mind, and you convert it to an A. But after years of doing CW, Morse code, you no longer do that conversion in your head. So it's very, very fast, and you begin hearing words and entire sentences, and you even stop writing it down. All right, Jim. So they were able, obviously, to communicate telepathically with virtually anybody, but in order to get more out of the communication, that's why this alphabet, these symbols.
You got it.
Got
it. And I think every brain. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor, but there's brain waves. They're electrical. That's a transmission, and then all you need is something that's sensitive enough to be a receiver. But if you can concentrate or focus those brain waves into the symbols in your head, and part of the learning was I had to feel it, feel the motion, sense the motion of the symbol. And they were strict about the direction of the symbols for each letter and sounding it out in the beginning. So I had to sound it out, sense the direction or the energy of the direction, vision it in my mind, and then that's how they would communicate back. So, and they're teasers. You want a little bit of reward session, and you got to talk to us the way we're showing you, or forget it.
Got it.
And time.
All right, Jim. Look. You're Jim Sparks. You're a real estate guy, a developer, made condos, put together condos, that kind of thing. Why you? Why not? You're just an average citizen. Why pick on you? Why abduct you? Why not a government official, for example?
Later on, as I learned, they track family lines from day one. That's one strong thing. Another, for whatever reason, and I can get into how I was shown that, because I used to scream that out, why me, a lot too. And I did a good session and I got my answer. It's kind of neat the way they showed it. And another, as it came out later, when I started having a few experiences with reptilians, or the scaly guys, bumpy heads and stuff. That's what they give you corny answers sometimes, and they're so corny and they're so simple, but they're so pure and true. And at first you just go, oh, come on. And then when you think about it, it's us that, diversifies off of facts, or goes off of facts. It goes out on wings. But they did make contact with power leaders and power brokers and things of that nature. And the response, I'm sorry,
I said, what do you know about that?
Yeah, and the response was, what they did was made money and weapons with it. So they gave technology. Look, I'm not going to go into conspiracy stuff and things of that nature, because these experiences, I've seen human beings, I've seen military individuals on board. Yep, that's been there. And it's a big part of it. I've also seen, the explanation for that is how we went about it. There's a strong environmental concern, which I can get into what it led to that, because it's pretty exciting what led to that, because it was a mass abduction with lots of people. And I got to walk around free and be part of it. It was one of the first times I got to do anything, and it took years to get to that point, and I can share it with you if there's time tonight. And
you're telling me then that our government has ongoing contact, ongoing agreements with these extraterrestrials. Is that so?
Yeah, which we break regularly, according to them. Which we break regularly. According to them, yeah. And it's the same stuff, I hate to say. Greed, money, power, weapons.
God. Can you recall any specific military officials you saw on board?
Well, one experience that sticks with me was I had gotten pulled the hard way. And it was different because when I had regained, this is when I was still living in, I was in Florida at the time, because these things were happening. One of the things I did is I abandoned my home in the Houston area back in 19, literally abandoned it, and then it stayed vacant for a year, and I ended up renting it out for like 10 years, and I finally sold it. But I left the house because I thought I could escape it. But and I was in Florida at the time, and I had gotten pulled. And when I came to, I was in a hangar, and above ground hangar, and I knew I was in Nevada. I knew I was in Nevada. I was sitting on a gurney. The hangar door was open. I could hear fighter jets landing and taking off in succession. Up against the walls were military. They looked like military police, maybe Army. I wasn't sure. And their backs were up against the wall of the hangars, and they were like 15 feet apart, and they were guarding the interior, and they had sidearms, and they were us, the USA, because I could tell by the uniform and the way they looked. And I was sitting on a gurney when I came to, and I was sitting up, and this experience was really different, but it's one of the clearest with people, because it was as if I was drugged. I was in slow motion, so I couldn't jump off the table, and I'll tell you what experiments they were doing too, but in a second. But I can move real slow, and I had my wits about me about 75%, and I can see these military MP or security guards leaning up against the wall, guarding it, the perimeter of it from the inside. To my right was a sort of like a couple of steps that were like 3 or 4 steps higher, like on a pedestal, and there were these two tubes. But what made the tubes extremely odd was you could see it was almost like a jar in a sense. They were about 4 4 feet, 5 feet in circumference. They were about 10 feet tall, and